Hello, families. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you here today for our parent meeting. We're going to wait a minute or a few seconds or so in case anybody's joining on as we kind of join. So we just thank you for joining us today, 6:30 p.m. So we'll wait a bit, but super happy to have you here either if you're watching us live or if you're watching us pre-recorded. We definitely appreciate your time. So just hang on for a few seconds and we'll get started in a little bit. All right, families and parents and students, we're going to get started. So today we're going to be talking about paying for college. And just so you know, in the chat, if you can feel free to ask questions in the chat. We'll be monitoring that in our on YouTube. You feel free to do that. So today we're going to be talking about paying for college. Now it's something that, as families, you are probably worried about. So who is worried about being able to afford college? I know I was when I was in high school, even in graduate school, I was concerned about it. And it's totally okay to feel that sense of uneasiness, right? It's okay. Everybody's nervous about it. But there are some steps we can follow to help you pay for college. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And so, first and foremost, we kind of want to start off with a question is how do you think most students afford college? Is it free money? Is it loans? So we're going to talk a little bit about each one of those today. And so to keep it short, there's a little bit of both. But there's 4 free ways to help make college affordable for you and your children. So there's 4, right? And we're going to cover each one, spend some time talking about each one. And then we'll talk about another option, a 5th kind of option, which comes down to loans. And I know that can be a little scary. So we do want to talk a little bit about them so that you as families can be informed. And so first, we have our FAFSA, which is our free application for federal student aid. We have scholarships, and third is grants. And then the 4th free option is Federal Work Study, which we don't always talk too much about, but we do want to mention them. Essentially, it's just a job that helps pay for your school expenses. So thank you for being here. I'm going to hand it over to Ms. O'Neill, who will walk us through the next slide.
Okay, so in terms of the majority of affording college and making college affordable is FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid. It opens October 1st every year, and it closes March 2nd of every year. And so this is the way that most students, myself included, paid for the bulk of my college education. And FAFSA is kind of this federal umbrella, so it allows you to do federal aid, and it also sends the information to the state of California, so you get California aid, and it sends the information to your student's school, so then you get school-specific aid. So it's kind of neat because you spend your time filling out one application, but it puts you in 3 different pools of money. So what FAFSA asks for is a lot of collaboration with parents and family. So they're going to ask some sensitive questions. It's a very, very secure site, and it's linked to the IRS. So they're going to ask questions specifically about family income and tax information because FAFSA calculates something called the EFC, expected family contribution. So they look at how much the school that your student might attend, the cost, and they'll look at your income and their tax information and say, can this family afford to help the student with this college education? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, FAFSA will be like, great, so now we can give the student aid to help fill that gap. So it estimates the student aid need. So if you have a student that's applying to maybe a community college versus a Cal State versus a CSU, they all have different tuition sticker prices, meaning the price that kind of is there varies. So community college is about $47 a unit, Cal State is about $250 a unit, and then CSU is about $1,000, or UC is about $1,000 a unit. And so basically they'll take your financial information, say, okay, if the student is going to a community college, maybe the EFC, the expected family contribution, would be like about $50. Versus at a Cal State, okay, the EFC is zero. They don't expect you to contribute anything. So then FAFSA would provide aid to kind of make that bridge so that school becomes more affordable. And so it uses this to award federal grants, state grants, numerous scholarships, college foundations, and companies. They send this not only just to the federal umbrella, but also the state umbrella and the school umbrella. So there's a lot of different opportunity with this one application. So FAFSA is going to ask for both the student and the parent for their social security number, alien registration number. If you are not a US citizen or if you do not have one of these numbers, it's okay. You can still fill out FAFSA as a parent. As a student, you would be filling out the California DREAM Act or a state-specific kind of application. But as a parent, if you don't have a social security number, it is okay. We will just print the last page, the signature page, and you will like wet sign it, manually sign it, and we would mail it to the PO box of FAFSA in Kentucky. And so that way you can still sign your student's FAFSA. That information will not be used against you. But if you do have a social security number, you would have to make what is called an FSA ID, and you can electronically sign that application with your student. What else they'll ask for is your federal tax income, your W-2s, records of money earned, assets that you have. And the reason that they ask this is they're calculating how much financial support could you possibly give your student. And so that's why it's really vital to fill out taxes, because if you don't fill out your taxes, you can't have your student apply for FAFSA. And FAFSA is the majority of the award that students get. And FSA ID to sign electronically makes it really, really easy. Mailing it is also a really easy option once we kind of get through that process, but taxes are necessary to fill out this FAFSA. So I know it sounds challenging. The good news is I think anytime it comes to like financial information and taxes, it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially as you're inputting these numbers. There's actually a link tool that links all your information to the IRS, which is kind of nice because, again, this is a federal application and the IRS is a federal entity. So it's not required for you to complete your FAFSA, but it does make it really, really easy because then the IRS puts all that information in and we're not kind of going, what's on line 1 of the 1040? Okay, let's put that number in. But we're happy to do that as well. And Upward Bound is here to help your students during their senior years fill out their first FAFSA and make it really approachable. I know it can be daunting, but the application itself doesn't take more than 45 minutes. And again, it's the majority of the aid that students will receive to attend college. And so we talked a little bit about this EFC, the expected family contribution, but it's a number that determines the student's eligibility for federal aid. The EFC is calculated by the student's FAFSA information, particularly based off your tax information. So financial administrators subtract the EFC, this number, by the cost of attendance to the school to determine the financial need. Financial need is the amount of money required for the student to afford college. And so it's really, really important that you fill out the taxes and you fill out the FAFSA so then they can kind of determine what is the EFC for your student. And the EFC might differ based on what kind of institution, because again, it's going to be a little bit cheaper at certain institutions and a little bit more expensive at different institutions. But there's also institutional aid, California aid, all of that's kind of bundled up in the FAFSA. So factors that determine the financial need, so that EFC number, the amount of people living in your household. The more people living on someone's financial income, the lower the EFC will be. The number of people enrolled in college, again, if you're paying for multiple students to go to college at the same time, that EFC number will be even lower, which is a good thing. Family and students' income. So they'll look at, hey, what is your income? And then how much does your student need to attend college? Tuition and fees of the student's university. If the college is a little bit more pricier, then that EFC number will be a little bit lower. And again, FAFSA's priority deadline is March 2nd, 2020 for this application cycle. Next year, a new application will open October 1st and close again March 2nd. So that's the cycle of FAFSA. And as long as you fill out your FAFSA by that March 2nd, you will be in by the priority deadline to get aid and receive aid. But FAFSA is just one way to afford it. There are other free ways, and that is scholarships. Scholarships, there's so many different ones. They're available year-round. They're available to practically any grade of student as well. They tend to be more centered around senior year, but also throughout your duration in college. And scholarships can be kind of in one of three camps: need-based. So similar to that EFC number, if you need aid to make college affordable, there are scholarships for that. Merit-based, so based on students' qualifications. It could be, hey, they have such GPA, or hey, they're part of this community, like maybe they're in band and they play an instrument really well. It will be based on their merit. Or qualification based. It could be like you check a certain box. So there might be a scholarship for students from Azusa. And since your student goes to Azusa, they would check that box and they would meet that qualification for that particular scholarship. So there's a lot of different ways to search for scholarships. My favorite is probably through the student's university, because they'll have specific ones at that university for your student. And there's less people applying to that one if it is university specific. But if you're looking for a general pool, or if the student hasn't yet dedicated themselves to a university, Big Future, which is offered through College Board, has a wonderful scholarships search. And that's a really good place to start your search for scholarships. So you can look at scholarships that are need-based, merit-based, or qualification-based. So you can kind of look at all three pools and see where you fit. Most students receive kind of a variety. It's not just merit-based scholarships, but it could also be stuff that they qualify for. You can even get scholarships based on the major that you have. So there might be a scholarship just for your student's major that they can apply for and receive. Grants. Grants are another way to afford college, another free way, and free ways are the best ways. Grants are like free money, just like FAFSA, but you don't have to pay it back. And an example of that would be the Pell Grant. The Pell Grant is one of my favorite grants. You can get it for up to 6 years when you're in college. FAFSA will cover 4 years of your college journey, but Pell Grant will cover 6 years. And you get the Pell Grant by applying to FAFSA, which is even better, right? Like, again, one application and so many different pools of aid. And so Pell Grant can be awarded for up to 6 years, and the maximum amount that you can receive is $6,195 per year. But think of that kind of over 6 years. That definitely helps to make your child's education much more affordable. Other grants that your student can be eligible for are Cal Grants. There's 3 different types of Cal Grants: Cal Grant A, B, and C. C is for community college. And Cal Grants are based upon academic need and work. So your student is eligible to receive Cal Grant based on their GPA. You literally get money for college for having good grades. So this is your incentive to tell your students, do your homework, stay on top of it, because your grades will determine not only what college you get into, but also the type of Cal Grant you'll receive. And Cal Grant can be anywhere up to $6,000 a year. Work study. Work study is one of the last free ways to afford college. And so there's a little bit of effort that goes into it. Work study programs, you apply to them again through FAFSA, which is why it's so vital to have your student apply to FAFSA and to make sure that you can provide that financial information for them. And just like Pell Grant, just like FAFSA, you apply through it. They help students find employment on campus. And this is really great because it helps build up your students' work resume. It allows them to work on campus, and campus jobs are usually much more flexible and understanding of college experience. And it works around their schedule, their class schedule, which is really good because it allows them to be the best students they can be, which is why they're in college. So the money that they earn at this work study position will help them afford different parts and expenses of college, like books or materials to tuition. And their earnings will not count against them on the FAFSA. So if we think back to that EFC number, it's based on how much you earn. So as a student works, like when I worked in college, the money that I earned in my non-work study positions was kind of used to determine my income. And it kind of technically counted against me in terms of EFC. Not in a negative way. It definitely helped me afford college, but they factored that into my net wealth. And so they decided, okay, you worked, so you have income coming in. But with a work study, it doesn't count necessarily against you. And I can't find better language to kind of word there, but it allows you to earn that money towards your living expenses, but it won't go, oh, okay, they earn this money and that counts towards their EFC. So it's definitely a good, kind of interesting way to afford it, but it does a lot of different benefits, from building your student's resume, to allowing them to get work experience, to helping them afford, to helping just make it a little bit more affordable and making sure that they get the money that they need on their FAFSA application for that EFC. Lastly, we're going to talk about the not free option, the option that you have to pay back. So loans, there are different types of loans, and we just want you to really understand that loans are not necessarily a bad thing, but it is important to take all the free options first and to apply the free options first. So when you look at a college, and you look at the price, you're going to see the sticker price. And that's going to be like, this is what you would afford if you didn't have any FAFSA, Pell Grant, Cal Grant, anything. That would be the price. But most students pay something called net price. So that's after we subtract all our lovely FAFSA scholarships, grants, loans, and work study. That would be what we're left with. And it's usually a much, much smaller number. And that number can be covered by working, it can be covered by loans. It's up to you and your student to decide the best option for you. But there are different types of loans out there. So when we talk about loans, it's really important to recognize what options are out there. So we'll talk about subsidized loans versus unsubsidized loans first, but there was a question in the chat, so I'd like to address it. If a student gets a job while in high school, does that affect their FAFSA or EFC? No. I think the best way I can word this is, as a student, typically, and I'll speak from my own experience, even when I held like a non-work study position, I was making a little bit more or around minimum wage. And even with a minimum wage job, you're not going to be making the type of money that would really negatively count against you on your EFC. It's not like you're going to be making $1 million. If you are, then maybe you're not as worried about affording college. But the type of money that you would make in your high school job will not negatively impact your EFC, and they will see that you're working, and that might also contribute to like your overall, like, hey, this student does need the aid. They don't tell us the exact calculations. I wish I could work at FAFSA and like understand exactly how the EFC is calculated, but yes, that's a factor. I hope that addresses your question. In terms of loans, subsidized versus unsubsidized. So subsidized loans are loans that are offered once you apply through FAFSA. Again, I can't reiterate how important making sure that you file taxes and filling out FAFSA is, but you get subsidized loans through FAFSA. Subsidized loans are offered through the Department of Ed, and essentially, subsidized, the interest is paid by the Department of Education. This is really important while you're enrolled in college at least half time. So the interest is not accumulating when you take out the loans and for the duration of your college experience. This is really important because I'll use a small number like $100. Let's say you borrow $100. You're not accruing interest year to year, week to week, month to month on that amount. But when you get out of college, you're expected to pay that $100 back. And so you would pay it back and it would slowly start to accrue interest for the subsidized loans 6 months after you graduate for college. Hopefully in that time you can get a job and start making those payments to reduce that overall loan cost and the interest. Unsubsidized loans, it would be like you take that $100 out and every month they add a $10 to it. So in a year's time, you would have added $120 in interest to that initial $100 loan, right? So unsubsidized loans, they begin to accrue interest as soon as they're dispersed. So it's essential to start paying them off sooner. It would be my preference and my recommendation that if you are offered between the two subsidized and unsubsidized loans, that you would take the subsidized loan first. Because again, that interest adds up and it adds up quickly because most students who are first gen are in school for up to 6 years. I was in school for 6 years, not 4. I wish it was 4. But if I had taken out an unsubsidized loan, it would have accrued interest for the entire 6 years, and then it would still be accruing interest now. So it's really important to kind of consider the type of loan that's offered. And subsidized loans are offered through FAFSA, through the Department of Ed. So that would be the best way to go when you are considering taking out a loan. And so you can get direct subsidized loans with the Department of Ed. And if you're in school at least half time, and then after you graduate, you're given a grace period, so this interest isn't recurring. You can also defer on your loan if it comes to that. And if you want to have conversations about specific loan types, I am definitely happy to have that individual conversation as well, because I know it gets confusing. And at the end of the day, this is a very generic presentation for a very complicated issue. And so I'm happy to sit down with you and your student and talk about what best plan is for you. But if anything, please take away free aid first. Let's look at as many free aid as possible, and then we'll decide what type of loans might be best if we need to take out loans. There's a lot of ways to make college affordable just with free aid. So in terms of unsubsidized loans can also be offered through a variety of services, and they're available to undergraduate students, so meaning those who have not earned a bachelor's degree, and graduate students, so students pursuing higher education like a master's or a PhD. And unfortunately, there's no unsubsidized loans for those graduate programs. So it's definitely something to start thinking about and planning when your students in college, what offers are available for them. So there's also some different types of loans beyond the ones that are just offered through the Department of Education through FAFSA. There's something called a Parent Plus loan that is taken out by both the student and the parent's credit. Parent Plus loans are unsubsidized. Again, they start accruing interest the minute that you take them out. And private loans. So sometimes private education loans can be offered through your bank or your credit card company. These are things like Discover Card student payments, and they will allow you to take out a loan to help with your education. And they are also unsubsidized, again, accruing interest immediately. So the Parent Plus loan, to be eligible, you have to be the biological or adoptive parent, in some cases the step parent of a dependent student, enrolled. You cannot have an adverse credit history, and the requirements for that are directly on the Department of Education's website. Grandparents also can do that if they have legally adopted the student. So the Parent Plus loan, I will say, is often not the best option in most cases because it ties the student's credit and the parent's credit together. So if there is an issue in paying the loan back or deferment, it can negatively impact the parent's credit as well as the student's credit. And typically, it's not the best option for people, and I'm happy to talk about specifics in your specific case with you if you want to reach out to me. But it's not usually the one that I would recommend to students between all of the different loan options. And again, the same with private loans because they can be expensive. There are cases in which it makes sense for that individual or for that family, but overall, I would say the unsubsidized loans, if you were to take them out, is the best option available to students, again, because we don't want to start accruing interest throughout the entire time that they are in school. There are some benefits to private loans if situations change. So for students who maybe didn't need to take out the loan when the semester started, but I don't know, something happened, they had to pay another lab fee, they don't make enough in their job, they can take out that private loan and slowly start to pay it back, or they can try to find a payment plan. There's usually different options. Again, I would recommend the direct unsubsidized loans before anything else. And so when we're talking about loan rates, this is for the year 2020, 2021, our current academic year. The direct unsubsidized loans have a fixed interest rate of 2.75. And again, that adds up because if we're looking even at an amount of $100, as that interest rate is applied, it increases the amount that's owed. Same with direct subsidized loans that are offered to undergraduate students. Again, it's fixed at 2.75, which is good. Direct unsubsidized loans for graduate or professional students, that interest rate hikes almost 2% at 4.30. And direct plus loans or parent loans, it's at 5% interest, which is really high actually. So it's definitely looking at what makes the most sense for you and your financial situation. But a majority of students cover the bulk of the sticker price of their school through free or gift aid. That's through FAFSA. And we can definitely look at affordability tools. There's definitely great net price calculators out there. So you can put in your financial information, your students' financial information, the school that they're interested in going to, and they'll give you an estimate of how much gift aid you'll likely to receive. Then you can factor in things like, hey, I'm going to apply to all these scholarships. I'm eligible for the middle class scholarship or Cal Grant or Pell Grant. So let me subtract that. And the number you're left with would be the number that you would cover either through loans, through work, through, any other means that you can. That's an option as well. So what can you do to help your students afford college? First and foremost, encourage them. I think a lot of students get really nervous, and I'm sure as parents as well, it can be overwhelming, this idea of affording college. We definitely have a narrative that if you go to college, you amass a certain amount of debt, and that's not always the case. So encourage them, let them know about all of the different free options there are. You can help them by encouraging them to fill out FAFSA starting October 1st of their senior year. Share their tax information so they can fill out the FAFSA effectively and support their decision to go to college. It's so crucial that you guys are on their side because they look to you for a lot of advice and guidance. Let them know that it's okay and that you guys are going to handle it together. Myself, Mr. Bustos, we're available anytime you guys want to meet to talk about college affordability, specific financial types, and what makes most sense, because our goal is to help send your students to college, but also to set them up for success. We definitely don't want to see our students take on debt. We want to find as many free avenues as possible, including scholarships, grants, and aid. And the best thing you can do is be there and help them on their journey. Talk to them about the options available for them, and just know that there's so much free money out there and so many schools that want to help them attend, and schools that will give students scholarships to make it more affordable for them. And there's a lot of scholarships right now in terms of like COVID aid relief. There's so many different avenues out there that we can help with. So if you have any questions, now is a great time to put them in the chat box. Let us know, so then we're able to kind of answer them for you. And again, if you have things that are specific to your financial situation, specific to your students, kind of future school situation, I am so happy to talk to you about them one-on-one. If you want, my number is right here. You can call or text me at 626-603-5628.
Thank you, Ms. O'Neill. So there is a delay from when we are presenting to when it goes to YouTube, so we'll wait a bit for any kind of other questions. Again, I know we spent a long time talking about loans today, where there's always a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, nerves, and so we do want to kind of give you a general overview. Again, this is kind of general. Each student's case is going to be really specific, but we wanted to give you that information so you can have an understanding when you start seeing these financial aid award letters. See if there's any questions. No questions thus far, but again, another way to minimize the cost of your student's education is being strategic in where your students apply. Obviously, a public school is going to be a little bit less expensive. A private school may cost a bit more, and a community college is always the lowest price. And so we want to talk to your students about all these different options as well. In addition, one of our graduate students created a video on how to understand a financial aid award letter, which may be a great video for you to watch if you have more questions about how the sticker price and the cost of attendance works. Excuse me. So we'll probably link that video once it's posted into our YouTube video. So again, always feel free to reach out. There's no questions. So I do want to thank you, parents and families, for watching. We definitely appreciate your time, and have a great evening. And I hope you enjoy your dinner. Have a great one. Bye.